Chapter 1. A lot of men think women lose interest like a light switch. One day she's smiling at you, texting fast, laughing at everything you say, acting like you're her favorite person, and then the next day she's cold. Short replies, dry tone, busy, tired, just been going through a lot. And the man is sitting there staring at his phone like something supernatural just happened. He starts replaying every message. He starts asking himself what he did wrong. He starts blaming other men. He starts assuming she met somebody else. He starts spiraling. And that spiral is usually the first thing that confirms to her that she made the right decision. The truth is, women don't lose interest randomly. They lose interest because something about how you showed up made their nervous system stop seeing you as the man they thought you were. Attraction isn't just about looks. It isn't just about money. It isn't just about status. Attraction is about perception. It's about what you represent. It's about how you make her feel. It's about what she believes will happen if she gets closer to you. And once her perception shifts, it's extremely hard to reverse. That's why this video is important, because a lot of men keep repeating the same mistakes with different women and calling it bad luck. But it's not bad luck. It's behavior. Some men hear that and instantly get defensive. They say women are complicated. They say women are impossible. They say women don't know what they want. And to be fair, women can definitely contradict themselves sometimes, but the patterns are still real. Women don't all want the same man, but they all respond to strength, stability, self-respect, and emotional safety. When you show signs of weakness, instability, desperation, or lack of standards, attraction doesn't just fade slowly. It dies quickly. It dies in moments. It dies in micro moments. A look in your eyes, a tone in your voice, a reaction that tells her you can't control yourself, a decision that tells her you don't respect yourself. And once she feels that, her body starts preparing to detach. That's the part a lot of men don't understand. Women don't detach logically first. They detach emotionally first. Then their mind creates the justification later. So you might hear her say, "I don't think we're compatible." And you'll take that literally, like compatibility is the reason. No, compatibility is the label. The reason is that something about you made her lose the feeling. Once she loses the feeling, she loses the desire to try. And when women stop trying, they become colder than men understand. Not because they're evil, but because emotionally they're already gone. So in this video, we're going to talk about 7 mistakes that make women lose interest instantly. Not 7 pickup artist tricks, not 7 corny text this rules. We're talking about the deeper behaviors that flip the switch inside her. The mistakes men make that quietly change her entire perception of you. And if you're smart, you'll use this video not to become paranoid, but to become sharp. Because once you understand what kills attraction, you stop accidentally destroying good situations. If you've ever watched a woman go cold on you and you genuinely didn't know why, like the video, because this is going to give you clarity. Subscribe, because love delusion isn't about hate, it's about truth. And comment sharp if you want to stop repeating the same patterns with women and finally level up your awareness. Now let's get into the first mistake. And this one is dangerous because it feels harmless. It feels normal. It even feels romantic to some men. But it's one of the fastest ways to make a woman lose interest, and that mistake is overinvesting too early. Over-pursuing, over-proving, over-texting, over-explaining, over-showing, acting like you already belong to her before she's earned anything. A lot of men do this because they're excited. They meet a woman they really like, and it feels like finally, here's the one. So they become available 24/7. They text good morning every day. They send long messages. They ask for reassurance. They start planning the future in their head. They start changing their schedule around her. They start becoming emotionally attached before there's any real foundation. And in their mind, they're being a good man. They're being consistent. They're being intentional. They're being serious. But to a woman, if it happens too early, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like hunger. It feels like neediness. It feels like you're trying to lock her down before she even knows who you are, and that makes her nervous system pull back. This is why women say they want a man who shows effort, but they still get turned off when a man tries too hard too soon. Because effort is attractive when it comes from strength. Effort is unattractive when it comes from fear. If you're pursuing her because you're confident and you're leading, she feels safe. If you're pursuing her because you're afraid of losing her, she feels pressure. And pressure kills attraction. A man meets a woman, and they have a great first date. Everything is smooth. She's laughing, she's touching him, she's engaged. The man goes home feeling like he just found gold. So the next day he wakes up and sends her a paragraph, then another paragraph. Then he starts double texting. Then he starts asking when he can see her again. Then he starts getting anxious if she takes too long to reply. Then, when she finally replies, he replies instantly. He cancels plans with his friends to see her. He starts calling her baby too early. He starts acting like she's his girl before she ever became his girl. And on the surface, he thinks he's doing everything right. But something shifts in her. She starts feeling like she has too much power. She starts feeling like she can pull him around. She starts seeing him as easy. And women don't respect men who are easy. They enjoy attention from them, but they don't desire them long term. That's why she starts pulling away. Her responses get shorter. She takes longer to reply. She starts acting busy. And the man thinks, I need to try harder. He doesn't realize his trying harder is the reason she's leaving. Now, a lot of men will hear this and think it means you should be cold and unavailable. No. You don't have to play games. You don't have to ignore women. You don't have to become toxic. You just need to have your own life. You need to have your own rhythm. You need to lead without overinvesting. You need to let her earn deeper access to you over time. Because the more you give a woman for free, the less she values it. That's not because women are evil. That's because humans value what they earn. If you give her your full emotional investment without her doing anything to deserve it, she won't respect it. She'll take it for granted, and then when you finally demand respect, she'll look at you like you changed because you trained her to expect unlimited access. So mistake one is overinvesting too early, and it's deadly, because men think it's love. But it's not love. It's anxiety disguised as love. Now, the second mistake is even more common, and it's the one that makes women go cold almost instantly, losing your masculine composure, showing emotional instability, getting reactive, getting jealous, getting moody, acting like your emotional state depends on what she's doing. This is where a woman starts feeling like she's dating her own child. And once a woman feels like she's dating her own child, the attraction is done. A man who can't regulate his emotions becomes unattractive fast. Because women crave stability. They want to feel like they can relax. They want to feel like you can handle life. They want to feel like you're grounded. If you're constantly reacting, constantly complaining, constantly needing reassurance, constantly getting in your feelings over small things, she starts seeing you as fragile. And women do not desire fragile men. Now I'm going to pause right here because this is the part men need to hear clearly. Being emotional is not weak. Men are allowed to have emotions, but being unstable is weak. Being reactive is weak. Being needy is weak. There's a difference between vulnerability and volatility. A strong man can be vulnerable. A weak man becomes volatile. A woman can respect a man who says, I've been through some things, but I'm handling it. She cannot respect a man who collapses every time she does something he doesn't like. If this is making sense, like the video because it helps this reach men who need it, share it with your friend who keeps getting ghosted and never knows why. Subscribe because Love Delusion is about giving men truth with clarity. Chapter 2. If you're paying attention, you can almost always pinpoint the exact moment a woman's interest starts dying. It's rarely one big dramatic event like a movie scene. It's usually a small moment where she sees something in you that changes the way she feels, a reaction that looks weak, a decision that looks desperate, a tone that sounds unsure, a boundary you didn't set, a boundary you claim to have but failed to enforce. And what makes it even colder is this: the moment she sees it, she doesn't always tell you. She doesn't always argue. She doesn't always complain. Sometimes she smiles and acts normal while she's already pulling away internally. That's why men get blindsided. They think everything is fine because she's not screaming. But women don't always leave with anger. Sometimes they leave with silence. They leave with a slow, emotional exit that you don't notice until it's too late. This is why a lot of men need to stop looking at women's words as truth. Women's words are often diplomacy. Women's words are often kindness. Women's words are often an attempt to avoid conflict. But women's behavior is where the truth sits. When her replies get slower, when her tone shifts, when she stops asking questions, when she stops being curious about you, when she stops trying to see you, that's when the clock starts ticking. Because once a woman is emotionally detaching, you can't talk her back into attraction. Attraction is not logical. Attraction is felt. Now let's talk about mistake number 2 more deeply, because it's one of the biggest: emotional instability. A lot of men ruin attraction by turning the relationship into an emotional roller coaster, not because they're bad men, but because they don't know how to regulate themselves. They don't know how to hold their frame. They don't know how to stay calm when they feel uncertainty. And uncertainty triggers men's fear in ways they don't even want to admit. When a woman doesn't reply fast, they panic. When she's out with friends, they imagine worst-case scenarios. When she posts a picture, they read into it, and then they start reacting. They start asking questions that aren't really questions. They start making jokes that aren't really jokes. They start sending messages that are really just insecurity in a costume. And women can smell insecurity like blood in water. Let's be real. A woman can deal with a man who has flaws. She can deal with a man who's not perfect. She can deal with a man who's still building. But she cannot deal with a man who is emotionally fragile. Because emotional fragility makes her feel unsafe. Not unsafe like physical danger. Unsafe like she can't relax. Unsafe like she has to constantly manage your mood. Unsafe like if she says the wrong thing, you'll collapse or explode. That is exhausting for women. And the moment a woman feels exhaustion around you, she starts fantasizing about relief. Relief is another man. Relief is being single. Relief is peace. And once she starts craving relief, it's already slipping away. I want you to picture this. A man is texting a woman and everything is good. Then one day she replies slower because she's busy. The man gets anxious. Then he sends, "You good?" Then he sends, "Did I do something?" Then he says, "LOL, never mind." Then he says, "I just feel like you're acting different." That entire sequence is weakness, not because he asked a question, but because he revealed fear. He revealed that his emotional stability depends on her behavior. He revealed he has no inner control. And women don't desire that. Women desire a man who can stay calm even when he doesn't know everything, a man who doesn't panic, a man who doesn't chase reassurance, a man who can lead. Now, let's go to mistake number 3. This one is brutal because it makes women lose interest even when they liked you a lot. It's when you become too available and too predictable with no mystery. Now, some men hear this and think it's game playing. It's not game playing. It's polarity. A woman wants to feel like you have a life that doesn't revolve around her. She wants to feel like you're already a complete man. If she senses that you have nothing going on outside of her, her attraction starts dying because she stops seeing you as a man with purpose. She starts seeing you as a man waiting for her to give him meaning. And nothing dries up female attraction faster than a man who needs her to give him meaning. A man with purpose is attractive because his life has gravity. His time has value. His attention has value. A man without purpose feels like he's just floating, and women don't want to attach to floating. They want to attach to structure. They want to attach to direction. They want to attach to certainty. So when you become the type of man who is always available, always responding instantly, always free, always ready to drop everything for her, she starts feeling like you're not rare. You're not valuable. You're not a catch. You're just convenient. A woman is dating a man who is consistent. He texts back. He shows interest. He plans dates. He leads. But he also has a life. He has his gym routine. He has his work. He has his boys. He has his mission. If she texts him, he responds, but not like a starving man. He doesn't abandon his day. He doesn't act like she's his only source of joy. That kind of man makes a woman feel safe and attracted because she feels like she's joining something solid. Now compare that to a man who has no direction. He spends all day waiting for her message. He reacts instantly to everything. He has no schedule, no mission, no discipline. His whole world becomes her. In the beginning, she might enjoy it because attention feels good. But over time, she loses attraction because she feels like she's holding all the power. She feels like if she leaves, his life collapses. That pressure is unattractive. Because women don't want to be responsible for your identity. Now, mistake number 4 is one men don't expect. It's being too agreeable, too nice in a weak way. Never challenging her, always trying to keep the peace, always trying to avoid conflict, always saying yes, always apologizing, always bending. And this is where men get confused because they think women want a man who's kind and cooperative. Women do want a man who's kind. But they don't want a man who's spineless. Kindness with strength is attractive. Kindness without strength is repulsive. A woman wants to feel like you have standards. She wants to feel like you can say no. She wants to feel like you have opinions. She wants to feel like you're not scared of losing her. Because when a woman senses you're afraid of losing her, she stops respecting you. She starts seeing you as a man who can be controlled. And again, women don't desire men they can control. They might use them. They might keep them around. They might benefit from them. But they won't feel deep attraction. A lot of men have been in situations where they felt like if they didn't say the right thing, she would leave. So they became careful. They became soft. They stopped being real. They stopped being blunt. They stopped being themselves. They started trying to be perfect. But a man trying to be perfect is not attractive. A man being real is attractive because real means confident. Real means grounded. Real means you're not begging for approval. The man who keeps her interest is the man who can hold his own. He can disagree without fear. He can challenge her without being disrespectful. He can lead without apologizing for being a man. And when a woman feels that, she stays interested. Because she's not bored. Because she's not leading. Because she doesn't feel like she's dating someone she can push around. If you're getting value, like the video because this message is needed. Share it with a man who keeps getting ghosted and blames women instead of correcting himself. Subscribe to Love Delusion because we're building men who understand reality. Chapter 3. There's a moment every man has felt before, even if he won't admit it out loud. It's when you can feel a woman slipping away, but you don't know how to stop it. You can feel the distance growing. You can feel the warmth fading. And instead of getting calmer and more grounded, your instincts start panicking. You start trying to fix it. You start trying to force the vibe back to what it was. You start chasing. You start talking more. You start doing too much. And the colder she gets, the harder you push, which makes her even colder. It turns into a death spiral that destroys your pride, because now it's not just her losing interest, it's you losing yourself. This is one of the biggest truths men need to accept. When a woman starts losing interest, you cannot talk her into being attracted to you again. You can't paragraph your way back into her desire. You can't explain your way back into respect. Attraction isn't logical. It's emotional. It's primal. It's felt. And once her feelings shift, the only thing that matters is the energy you carry. That's why these mistakes are so deadly. They don't just reduce attraction, they flip the way she sees you. And when a woman sees you as weaker than she thought, the mental reclassification is brutal. The fifth mistake, and this one is the one that embarrasses men the most. It's when you start seeking reassurance like a child. Not reassurance in a calm, mature way, but reassurance in a needy, insecure way. You start asking where you stand too early. You start asking if she likes you. You start asking if she's talking to other guys. You start asking why she didn't reply. You start asking why she's acting different. And the crazy part is you don't think you're doing it out of insecurity. You think you're being real. You think you're communicating. But what you're really doing is revealing you don't trust yourself. You're revealing you don't have confidence in your own value. You're revealing you need her to confirm you're good enough. And women do not desire men who need them to confirm they're good enough. Because the moment you start needing reassurance, you transfer leadership to her. You tell her emotionally, my peace depends on what you do. And once she knows she has that kind of power over you, her respect begins to rot. Even if she still likes you, she loses that primal attraction. Because primal attraction requires the man to feel like a stable force. A woman can't relax into femininity around a man who is emotionally begging. A man is dating a woman, and everything is good at first. She's texting him first. She's showing interest. She's being playful. Then, one day, she replies slow. The man gets anxious and asks, "Are you mad at me?" She says no. Then he asks again later, "You sure everything is good with us?" She says yes. Then he asks, "You still like me, right?" And at that moment, something in her changes. She might not even admit it. She might even respond sweetly. But inside, she starts feeling turned off. Because she's not dealing with a man who's calm. She's dealing with a man who's worried. And worry is not sexy. Now, the sixth mistake is one that kills attraction even faster because it turns you from a man into a clown. It's when you overexplain yourself. You feel like if you just explain your intentions, she'll understand. You feel like if you just show her your heart, she'll appreciate you. So you start giving speeches, you start sending paragraphs, you start over-communicating, you start trying to get ahead of problems that don't even exist yet. And the more you explain, the more she feels like you're trying to convince her. But here's the truth. A man who is the prize doesn't convince. A man who is the prize chooses. So when you start over-explaining, you unconsciously signal that you believe you're not enough on your own. You believe you need words to hold her. You believe your presence isn't enough. And women feel that instantly. A man who's confident communicates clearly but briefly. He doesn't dump his emotions all over her. He doesn't make her responsible for his feelings. He states what he means, and he moves forward. Mistake number 7, and this one is probably the coldest. It's when you tolerate disrespect because you're afraid she'll leave. This is when a woman starts speaking to you in ways she wouldn't speak to a man she respects. She gets slick. She gets sarcastic. She starts rolling her eyes. She starts raising her voice. She starts making little disrespectful jokes. And you let it slide because you want to keep her. You don't correct it. You don't set a boundary. You don't make it clear that you won't tolerate it. And once you tolerate disrespect, you teach her your value is negotiable. Women don't respect men who tolerate disrespect. They might stay. They might benefit. They might keep the relationship going. But attraction dies. Because now she sees you as a man she can step on. And when a woman feels like she can step on you, she won't feel safe being feminine with you. She becomes masculine in the relationship. She becomes the leader. She becomes the tester. She becomes the one who pushes. And men hate that dynamic because it feels like you're constantly being challenged. But that dynamic is created by your fear of losing her. You let her cross lines, and then you wonder why she keeps crossing them. If you tolerate disrespect from a woman, you are not keeping love. You are buying company. You are paying with your dignity for her presence. And women don't love men who sell their dignity. They might stay because it's comfortable. But respect disappears, and when respect disappears, interest disappears. Now there's one more mistake I need to mention because it's the silent killer behind all of these. It's when you don't have a clear purpose, a clear direction, a clear identity outside of women. Because when a man doesn't have his own mission, women become his mission. And women can feel it. They can feel that you're hungry. They can feel you're searching for meaning in them. And that makes them pull away. Because no woman wants to be responsible for a man's identity. She wants to join your world. She doesn't want to become your world. If this chapter hit you, like the video because men need this truth, share it with the friend who keeps losing women and always says, I did everything right. Subscribe to Love Delusion because we're building men with standards. Chapter 4. One of the hardest truths for men is that attraction is fragile, not because women are fickle, but because women are sensitive to energy shifts. They feel when you're solid and when you're unsure. They feel when you're leading and when you're chasing. They feel when you're calm and when you're performing. And once a woman's attraction starts dropping, most men do the worst possible thing. They start acting like a salesman trying to close a deal. They start trying to win her back. They start throwing more attention at her, more texts, more compliments, more time, more apologies, more explaining. And they don't realize that what they're really doing is confirming the exact thing that made her lose interest in the first place: weakness. The biggest difference between men who keep women interested and men who constantly get ghosted is not looks. It's not money. It's not height. It's the ability to stay grounded when things feel uncertain. Because uncertainty is where men reveal who they really are. When everything is good, anybody can act confident. But when things feel shaky, the man who still holds his composure becomes magnetic. The man who collapses becomes replaceable. Women don't want to feel like they're dating a man whose value depends on her moods. They want to feel like they're with a man who would still be the same man whether she stayed or left. That energy is rare, and rare is attractive. So what do you do instead of making these mistakes? You stop centering women emotionally. That's the first fix. You stop making her the sun and you the planet. A woman can't respect a man who revolves around her. She might like the attention, but she won't respect it long term. Respect comes from a man being anchored, being rooted, having a life that has structure and purpose. When you have your own direction, your attention becomes valuable. It becomes something she has to earn instead of something she can access anytime she wants. And the funny part is, this is what women actually want. They want to feel like you chose them, not like you needed them. A man with direction doesn't chase clarity. He creates clarity. He doesn't beg a woman to act right. He gives her standards. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't argue. He doesn't lecture. He just moves accordingly. If she's interested, he leads. If she becomes distant, he doesn't panic. He observes. He gives space. He stays calm. He continues living. That's what makes women respect you. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're not emotionally starving, you're not dependent, you're not fragile. Imagine you're dealing with a woman and you can tell her energy changed. The old version of you would start thinking, what did I do wrong? You'd start trying to fix things. You'd start sending extra messages. You'd start acting extra sweet. You'd start asking questions you already know the answer to. But now imagine you're a different man. You notice the change. But instead of panicking, you tell yourself, if she likes me, she'll come closer. If she doesn't, she'll fade. Either way, I don't lose myself. That mindset is power. That mindset keeps your dignity intact. That mindset protects your masculine frame. And women can feel that shift before you even say anything. Look at two different men. One man feels her pulling away and he starts chasing. He texts more. He calls more. He apologizes for things he didn't do. He asks for reassurance. He tries to convince her he's a good man. He tries to save the connection. and she feels overwhelmed. She feels pressured. She feels like she has too much power. Her attraction dies even faster. Another man feels her pulling away, and he stays calm. He continues working. He goes to the gym. He sees his friends. He doesn't get bitter. He doesn't become cold. He just stops overextending. He stops chasing. He matches energy. If she reaches out, he responds like a man. If she doesn't, he doesn't chase. And what happens? Either she comes back because she realizes she can't control him, or she disappears and he still wins because he didn't sacrifice his self-respect. A lot of men want a secret way to keep her interested. There isn't a trick. It's a lifestyle. The lifestyle is self-respect. Women stay interested in men who can walk away, not because they want you to leave, but because it means you're not trapped. You're choosing them. And choice is attractive. The man who is willing to lose her will never be disrespected. The man who fears losing her will tolerate everything. And the more he tolerates, the more she loses attraction. That's why fear kills relationships. Not because fear is bad, but because fear makes you compromise your dignity. Let's talk about one of the most underrated things you can do to prevent these mistakes. Stop being emotionally available to women who haven't earned it. That doesn't mean you become cold. It means you don't give her access to your deepest emotions and your deepest investment before she's proven she deserves it. A lot of men open their chest too early. They share everything. They reveal insecurities. They talk about their pain. They give her the keys to their emotional world before she even respects them. Then, when she loses interest, she leaves with everything she learned, and the man feels empty. Emotional depth should be given slowly, not because vulnerability is bad, but because vulnerability is sacred. It should be shared with someone who has shown they can handle it. The men who win at love are not the men who love the hardest. They are the men who love with standards. They don't attach to women just because she's pretty. They don't fall for vibes. They choose based on character, consistency, and respect. And when you live like that, women don't lose interest easily, because your presence feels rare, it feels earned, it feels valuable. And even if a woman leaves, you don't break, because your identity wasn't built on her attention. If you're getting value, like the video because it helps men who need this, share it with the friend who always ruins things by chasing. Subscribe because love delusion is going to keep making men sharp. Chapter 5. The truth is, most men don't lose women. They lose themselves first. They lose their frame. They lose their standards. They lose their composure. And then they watch the woman emotionally detach like it's some mystery, when really it was predictable. A woman doesn't just wake up one day and decide you're not attractive. She gradually stops seeing you as the kind of man she can respect. And once respect starts dying, interest starts dying right behind it, because attraction and respect are tied together deeper than most men want to admit. That's why so many men stay confused. They think women are only moved by emotions, but they don't realize women's emotions follow what they believe about you. If she believes you are strong, stable, and valuable, she feels drawn to you. If she believes you are weak, needy, and unstable, her body starts pushing away from you even if she still likes your personality. This is why the most dangerous mistake men make is thinking they can get away with low standards because she's beautiful. A lot of men enter relationships already compromised. They meet a woman they find attractive and instantly start operating from fear. Fear that she'll leave, fear that another man will take her, fear that they're not enough. So they begin bargaining with their own dignity. They tolerate disrespect. They tolerate inconsistency. They tolerate mixed signals. They tolerate emotional games. They tolerate being treated like an option. And they do it because they want access. They want intimacy. They want sex. They want companionship. But what they don't realize is that every time they tolerate what they don't like, they train her to treat them worse. And worse is never attractive. A woman can only respect you as much as you respect yourself. If you don't enforce a standard, she assumes you don't have one. Men love asking what to do when a woman loses interest. They want the recovery plan. They want the cheat code. They want the message they can send. They want the gesture that will flip it back. But the recovery plan should never be the focus. The prevention is the focus. Because once a woman sees you as weak, it's hard to unsee it. Once she feels like she can control you, it's hard to regain leadership. Once she starts feeling turned off, you can't logic her into being turned on again. That's why the smartest man doesn't chase women when they pull away. He watches, he adjusts, he matches energy, he keeps his dignity, and he never begs. Begging is the one thing that guarantees her interest will die completely. You have to understand something about women that most men refuse to accept. Women are not attracted to neediness, even if they benefit from it. They might enjoy your attention. They might enjoy your compliments. They might enjoy the fact that you're always available. But enjoyment is not attraction. Attraction comes from polarity. It comes from strength. It comes from self-respect. And that's why the man who stays calm is always the man who wins. When a woman feels like she can manipulate your mood, she stops seeing you as a man. She starts seeing you as something she can control. And if she can control you, she can't admire you. If she can't admire you, she can't desire you. So the real solution is not learning 7 mistakes so you can walk on eggshells. The real solution is becoming a different type of man. A man who doesn't cling. A man who doesn't chase. A man who doesn't collapse. A man who doesn't make women his emotional center. Because the man who has his own mission, his own purpose, his own discipline, and his own direction naturally becomes attractive without trying. Not because he's pretending to be busy, but because he's actually building a life. A life that has structure. A life that has momentum. A life that doesn't pause just because a woman is acting distant. That stability is what creates masculine gravity. Women are drawn to masculine gravity the same way weak men are drawn to female beauty. It's instinct. When you're that kind of man, you stop needing women to like you. And that's the paradox. The moment you stop needing it, you start getting it. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself, you start becoming respected. The moment you stop begging for attention, you become the type of man women pay attention to. Because women don't want to be your purpose. They want to be a part of your purpose. They want to be invited into your world, not trapped inside your emotional cravings. And the man who understands that never loses his frame. Even when a woman is acting confusing, even when she's testing, even when she's pulling away, he stays calm, he stays grounded, he stays himself. If you're the type of man who panics the second her energy changes, you need to hear this clearly. Her distance is not a command. Her silence is not a command. Her slow replies are not a command. You do not need to chase her to fix anything. You need to observe reality. You need to stop acting like her attention is oxygen. And you need to understand that a woman respects a man who can give her space without bitterness, space without anger, space without revenge, space without drama. Because that shows control. And control is masculine. A woman's interest will naturally rise and fall based on mood, stress, life, hormones, and environment. That's normal. What kills relationships is not her mood changes. What kills relationships is your instability in response to her mood changes. That's why so many men create their own problems. She pulls back a little and they chase. She gets cold and they beg. She takes longer to reply and they accuse. She goes out with friends and they get jealous. She tests boundaries and they fold. And each of those responses makes her interest drop faster. Because it tells her you're not stable, you're dependent, you're emotionally needy. And women do not want to be responsible for a man's inner world. The way you keep a woman interested long-term is not by trying to entertain her. It's not by being perfect. It's not by constantly proving yourself. It's by being consistent in who you are. A man with standards is consistent. A man with self-respect is consistent. A man who values his time is consistent. And when you carry yourself like that, Women treat you differently. They don't play with you as much. They don't disrespect you as much. They don't test as hard. Because they can feel it. They can feel you won't tolerate foolishness, not because you're angry, but because you have dignity. So if you want to stop losing women, stop trying to hold on to them with fear. Fear is not attractive. Fear is not leadership. Fear is not masculine. Stop building your confidence on female validation. Build it on discipline. Build it on purpose. Build it on self-respect. Build it on your ability to walk away from what dishonors you. Because the moment you become a man who can walk away, women stop treating you like an option. They start treating you like a man. If this video gave you clarity, like it because men need this truth. Subscribe to Love Delusion because we're not raising delusional men, we're raising sharp men. Share it with the friend who keeps chasing women who don't respect him. And comment standards if you're done losing your frame just because a woman is pretty. Because the real reason women lose interest is not that you weren't enough. It's that you forgot you were enough, and you started acting like she was your only chance.